Hi, my name is Reginald Angus Argue. The date is February 1st, 2012. One thing, I used to do radio, co-op radio. I used to volunteer, and I used to have guests on Grey Wolf, Chief Orville Looking Horse from the Lakota Nation, Jan Michael Looking Wolf, Donald Black Fox, and the list went on and on with elders that are involved from the Native American community. What I was trying to do, I was trying to bridge the difference between the Native American and non-Native American community, because realistically, we are all the exact same people, and that's what I want people to realize. And right now, I'm sitting here with a member of the RCMP, who's from the First Nations Police Force, Constable Troy Derrick. Troy, the first question I have to ask you: you're not only Native American, but you're a member of the RCMP. Mm-hmm. What was the one thing that actually, made you want to join the RCMP, if I may ask?
What made me want to join it? It wasn't anything that I really, it's kind of a weird thing to say considering I'm wearing the uniform now, but it wasn't like a huge aspiration for me. It wasn't really a first choice career. I ended up starting out throughout my entire life story, but I could sit here and talk all day, but it's going to take forever. But really, to make a long story short, I was a chef for some time. I became a chef instructor. I worked specifically for a First Nations community center as one of the chef instructors there. I was there for about 3 years. I had several classes, of course, and I'd always tell my students that, we live in Canada. This is a place of opportunity. We can do whatever we want in this country. We can change careers with the drop of a hat. And I would tell this to pretty much every class and try to just encourage them, look, there's always something you can do with yourself and make some sort of social change if you want to, or whatever it is. I mean, we've got the opportunity. So one of my classes, I remember one specific guy, he goes to me, "What about you?" And I'm like, "What about me?" He goes "Well, you keep telling us all the time that you can do whatever you want here. What about you? Can you change whatever you want to do and maybe make a different career choice or whatever it was?" And I just said, "Okay, well, why don't you challenge me? What's the hardest thing you think a First Nations person can do in this country?" And he just said, "Why don't you become a policeman? Let's see if you can do that." And that's pretty much how the whole thing started. It wasn't like a first career choice. It was just a challenge from somebody else, and I took it to heart. I actually took it home, and it took me some time to really think about it and maybe make a bit of change myself, just to maybe to prove to myself, maybe to prove to this person, maybe just to prove to First Nations people, or anybody for that matter, that the opportunity is here. You can make that change if you want to, and you just got to keep moving forward.
And you actually seen the effects of addiction to alcoholism and drugs firsthand. And also you were mentioning right before we were talking, you were mentioning that you battled alcoholism yourself in your own life. What kind of effects have you seen that have been done from the destruction of alcoholism and addiction to drugs?
If you're speaking from a police standpoint, or even from a personal standpoint, I mean, police or personal, they're pretty much the same as far as the devastation that you could see between one addiction to the next. I would say the worst thing I ever see is that it tears apart families. It destroys family households, family structures. It doesn't matter what culture, background, unit you're from. Any addiction has caused a lot of issues directly with the families. I mean, everything from the elders to the youth to everybody in between. And that's probably the worst thing that I've ever seen, is that the fact that, it tears apart families.
And you're involved with programs to help people to recover from the addictions. I mean, you did a mural over in Newton. Can you talk a little bit about the mural you did, the importance behind it, and the organization that was involved with that?
As far as that one goes, that one there kind of fell into I don't know, just kind of fell in my lap, I guess. It wasn't something that I was definitely directing towards, I had started mural projects within the community, within the Surrey community, back in 2008, down on one of the First Nations center, actually Semiema First Nation, and it originally started with an anti-graffiti process. basically there was graffiti that was being done in various places, and I just figured like, well, what better way to kind of deter it from maybe putting a mural up. And it started from there, and then I ended up doing some, like that's with like local First Nations art. And then it sort of blossomed into different schools and different school districts. And then from that point, someone ended up hearing from the Price Pro there that, hey, we have this thing called Run for Recovery, which was this project coming up as far as like raising money for addiction awareness. And it happened like within about 2 weeks, where I was contacted and said, would you be interested in doing this project for us? We know that you do murals around the city. And it fell pretty much into the same direction that I believe in anyways. Like, I mean, everyone needs to have some sort of addiction awareness or whatever because it's so misunderstood, I guess, and the fact that it's addiction is in fact like some sort of, I guess you could say, a disease, right? And a lot of people don't quite grasp that. So anyways, it's something that I believed in anyhow, and it felt right. It fell into place, and somehow it felt right to be able to do something like that, and it's something that I really believed in doing, and I put a lot of my own personal time into that one because it was just something that I felt really good about, and that I met some of the folks that work there, going through their recovery process, and when they found out that I was a policeman, they're just like, whoa, you know, they've had a lot of issues, a lot of problems with him before, but like, wow, I can't believe you're doing this, and then they're shaking my hand and thanking me so much for taking the time out of my day to help them out. And it kind of brought this concept together of like, again, bridging the gap, because we all live in the community, and as people we often forget what community really is, right? Like, it's common unity, if you break it down to its simplest form, where everyone's got a common goal and we're all here for the same reason. I mean, we're all on the same team, right? Like, a lot of people, like you were saying from before, don't look at us like, or they don't look at everybody as the same, like policemen, non-policemen, firemen, bus drivers, whatever you have it, working at McDonald's or whatever. But we're all on the same team anyways, and we keep forgetting that it's the human team, right? We're all playing for the same thing, right? And community and the human team kind of work together, but a lot of people seem to forget that because we all get so tied up with our own.
Well, we all put our pants on one leg at a time.
Exactly.
So, and you're mentioning also you're involved with project with Native American elders that's helping out youth from Native American and non-Native American communities. Could you talk a little bit about the programs you're involved with?
One of them that we're just starting now is actually at the Kikino Native Housing Unit here in Surrey, and it's something that we just started a couple of months ago, and it's going to be a pilot project that we started working with some of the elders within one of the housing units, and it's just trying to establish a bit more of a connection with the elders and with the youth, just so they can kind of have like a place to go. We've started like just once a month. Hopefully it's going to blossom into something a bit more than that. It was more something that I was there for the initial start of it, but it's something that I don't want to take full control over because it's got to be a community effort, and we want more of the youth and the elders to be involved with this type of project. So it's kind of the direction that we're going. If it flies well, then of course they're going to try to bring it to the other community housing units as well, and hopefully we'll grow from there.
And you're also a spokesperson for 10 different groups that you're talking about. Earlier, prior to this interview here, you mentioned you've been involved with speaking for basically 10 different groups with RCMP, right?
It wasn't directly just with the RCMP itself, but I mean, I did go there either as an RCMP member or just someone who works as public awareness. I've done like presentations at the local public library here in Wally. I've done some for Service Canada, some of course for the RCMP, and I've done some for some of the local First Nations groups around here as well. And the concept that I have is more of like a no blame, no shame concept. And it's such a sensitive concept that a lot of people don't want to really bring this thing up. Everyone knows that there's been some hurt and some perhaps misunderstandings with First Nations issues that have occurred. We always hear about like land claims treaties, First Nations status, and all those things. What does it all mean? We've all heard of it, but we don't really understand what it is. So what I do, and what has happened with me, is, I mean, I would suggest that this job is a blessing. It's been a blessing to me, to be able to explore a bit more of Canadian history, more specifically British Columbia history, and even more specifically First Nations history. And it's brought them all together so I get a bit more of my own social understanding, so that way I can see where things have gone, why certain communities behave a certain way. And most community people, or most people in the community, often look at things and see it at face value, but they often forget that maybe it's something a little bit further, and that brought it to where it is. Like I look at like that addictions issue that I ended up putting up, like, as far as that mural was concerned for the Price Pro there. Like, they interviewed me for that one too, and my same view goes out now. It's like, it was a people don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be an addict. People don't wake up one day and say, that's what I'm going to choose to do for the rest of my life. Something had brought it to that. And when it comes to like policing, in the same concept, we need to interview everybody who's involved in all parties to try to find out what the real story is. We can put the pieces of the puzzle
like
together.
Like the root cause.
The root cause of what had occurred. Like, I mean, of course, being a police person, or you end up participating in like interviews for various things like domestic disputes, family fights, or whatever it is that it's occurred. And when you speak with each person, you sort of get a better picture of what's going on. You get a bit more, like you're saying, the root cause or the historical issues of what had brought it to its point. And that way you can put it together in a report and present it to somebody else who makes that judgment. Like, a lot of people look at the police as like, you know, judge, jury, and executioner, when really we are just information gatherers. So this job here has given me the opportunity to gather information. It's, as far as like the history that I was speaking of, from all directions, so that way I'm able to provide it in a non-confrontational, non-judgmental way, give it to people in general, and they can be their own judge. They can do with that what they want to, and hopefully walk away with it feeling enlightened, as opposed to judged or a finger being pointed at them.
And what are some of the programs that you would like to see initiated, in your own humble opinion, to help address not only the addiction issue, but even, let's say, the gang issue, just to help get the youth more involved with the community and help instill a pride from where they're living at this time?
It's, every community is different. Everybody's views are different. Everyone has different needs, wants, and expectations. So it's hard to put that in a general sense of saying what programs would I like to see. It's just more or less what can other people, maybe I would say, give to these communities. We can get into anything like starting any kind of exercise program, to art program, or to whatever it is. But the key is to find out, again, what their needs, want, and expectations are, and take the time to do it. The key to mostly any relationship is it's like you were saying, bridging the gap. Well, bridging this gap is building relationships, strong relationships, trusting relationships. And each one of them, it has a different direction that it may want to go. So you need to get into the community. You need to communicate with that community to understand what direction they would like to go. When you find that, then you start your programs from there to see what interests that they have. And the thing is, though, they need some consistency to maybe move forward with these programs to keep them going. Because a lot of the complaints of any community has is like, sometimes the programs don't last very long, 1 year, 2 years, but then what? Right? One person's in one position for that length of time, and then it phases out. There's got to be a way where people are a little bit more consistent with their length of time. And I would say just to keep these types of things going, so that way there's a sense of consistency again, which ends up building that trust, which ends up building that relationship. Because most people in this world, like, they don't have their best friend within a month. Oh, this is my best friend. This is, it takes time to establish those types of things. It takes time to establish that sense of trust. And with something that's so diverse as like the policing culture, as opposed to, would say, the civilian culture, it takes time to maybe, for someone who's not so trusting of the police or anybody for that matter, and to try to break down those barriers and strengthen those relationships.
So in other words, what you're saying basically is that you're trying to sort of rebuild the image that they built up over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to show up, the image, the real image of what the positive changes you're trying to bring.
That's right. Yes, because a lot of the stuff is like it's misconceptions. It's everybody's different. Like we all paint everybody with the picture. You see them right off the get go. I mean,
With a broad brush.
We're all guilty of it. I mean, you try to think like you're the most unbiased person in the world, and you walk in any situation, and whatever the situation is, this is what it is. I mean, first impressions are huge. It's with anybody. I mean, anyone who says that they're not, I mean, I don't suggest they're not being completely truthful, right? Because that's just the way it is. And we need to just start communicating. That's all it is. And the key to anything is take the time. Take the time could be anything.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Would you like to leave some closing words?
I probably would, but I can't think of them right now.
Well, what's the main message that you'd like to get out to the youth?
The main message is, oh man, you're not really alone, you know? Like, I mean, we've all got our own demons to deal with. We're all human. It's been an interesting path for me, and I wish I could give you the whole story. I mean, that could take an hour or a couple hours or so. It's just with the youth too. I mean, I say that you can take the time to listen for the adults, but that goes on both directions. Everybody needs to sit there with an open mind. It's difficult sometimes as a youth because you see so one-sided of what you've seen with your experiences in your life. I mean, as you get older, you start to see things in your life that you realize that it's more than just you, and it's more than just what you've experienced, that everybody's got something to bring to the table. And it's a good thing to share, as difficult as it is at times to open things up. So I would say just take the time just the same. That'd be my best message for anybody.
Well, thank you so much for your time.